call this meeting to order with the checklist. So as chair of the Weare board, I find that due to the state of emergency and emergency order 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, we are authorized to meet electronically. There is no physical location to observe and listen, which is authorized by the emergency order. However, I'm authorizing that we're using Zoom. We noticed it on the SAU page and I believe Facebook. If you have a problem at all, you can email Jacqueline Co@sau.com or call her. Her number's on the SAU page. And if she wants to share it now, that would be good.
So at jacqueline.co@sau24.org is
the best. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. If for some reason the public can't access this meeting, we will adjourn and reschedule. All votes on a Zoom meeting will be taken by roll call vote. So what we're going to do right now is start with roll call attendance. So I'll start with the board. This is so it's who you are, who's with you. Yeah. So this is Wendy Curry. I am home. My husband and 3 dogs are here. Christine.
I'm at home. I have 2 children in the other room and a husband asleep, ready to go plow again or clean up.
Nice.
But I'm in a room by myself at the moment.
Nice. Heidi?
Heidi Colburn, and I'm alone in this room.
Okay. Sue?
Sue Moore, and I'm upstairs alone in my home.
Great. And Rochelle?
I am at home with my house full, but alone in this room.
Okay, great. Jackie, do you want to go through the administration?
Sure. Jackie Co. I'm actually home, but I am alone in my room. Natasha?
Hi, Natasha Kolmanen. I am home. My mom and my husband are both here, but I have a headset on. Chris.
Chris, I'm at home as well in a room alone. And I know Greg is out there somewhere.
I'm Greg. I'm at the SAU all alone, except for maybe possibly a mouse floating around. And I think it's Martha's next.
Martha LeMahieu. I'm at home with a headset on. Am I going to someone else? Sean? Okay.
I am in this room alone. Some folks are other places.
Yes.
I am home. My son is here, but he has the headset on.
Cool. Okay, Jackie, anyone else?
There are others, but I think we're good with.
Okay. Excellent. All right, well, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent. Thank you. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
The only thing is we do need a brief non-public for a personnel issue.
Okay. Awesome. I have an amendment to the agenda under old business. I want to touch on the deliberative session. All right. So we are up to public comment. I'm going to read through our policy. There's a lot of new cases, just make sure that we're all on the same page, right? So the primary purpose of the board meeting is to conduct business of the board as it relates to school policies, programs, and operations. We encourage residents to attend our public meetings, our board meetings, so they can become acquainted with the operation and programs. All official meetings of the boards are open to the press and public. However, the board reserves the right to meet and adjourn or recess at any time. They reserve the right to enter non-public under RSA 91A:3. In order to assure people who wish to appear before the board may be heard, and at the same time we may be able to conduct our business, we have the following policies. Public comment will be twice, once at the beginning and run just after new business. If you wish to speak, raise your hand. I think we're muted tonight. You'll get unmuted, you can speak. Please keep it brief. We have a lot of people who want to talk. Typically, the policy states Oh, if you speak, give your name, your address, and any group that you're associated with. So we have that for the record. Typically, public comment is closed after 10 minutes, regardless of people. You're welcome to comment on agenda items. Anything not on the agenda you can raise, but we won't comment on them because we haven't had time to be noticed. Consistent with RSA 91-A:3, policy BEDB, anything pertaining students and family privacy rights will not be on the public agenda. We go to non-public for that. Please conduct yourself in a civil manner. The board will not hear personal complaints regarding school personnel or against any person connected with the school system. We authorize the chairperson, me, to terminate remarks if you don't adhere by the rules. The board will not permit members of the public at meetings to participate in the board's discussion. The board authorizes its chairperson to recognize people when the chairperson deems necessary. And people appearing before the board are reminded that members of the board are without authority to act independently as individuals on official matters. Thus, questions can be directed at individual board members, but answers will be deferred pending considerations of the full board, right? With that said, we have had a lot of communication this week. So I would like to make a motion to extend public comment for up to 30 minutes or till comments are done. Could I get a motion? Christine, get a second? Okay, so roll call vote on that. Christine?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Rochelle?
Yes.
And Wendy, yes. Okay. All right, good. All right, so public comment. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Dawn Spring is raising her hand. Could you, like physically raising her hand? I love that. Could you unmute her so that she can talk?
So I'm Dawn Spring. I'm a teacher at Weare Middle School. I teach 6th grade. And my association, I'm the president of the Weare Education Association. And I'm also speaking as a resident and taxpayer tonight. And I would just really like the board, I would respectfully request that the board reconsider the decision to hold the deliberative session in February, where you have the authorization to move it. It seems like that would be, it would be a better choice. We have a lot of teachers that would really like to be at the deliberative session. We have a teacher contract up this year. The last time we had a teacher contract, we had over 30 teachers, resident and non-resident, that were at the deliberative session. I feel like it is putting teachers in a position to choose safety over our ability to be part of the voting process for the residents in Weare. And I also really just kind of putting it out there to the public, I really dislike being remote. So it would be awesome if we could all be there. And I feel like having so many people in a space puts that at risk. And I would respectfully request that you reconsider and move that for the children, for the teachers, for the community. That's it. Thank you.
Done. Next, I see Shelley Gray.
Thank you. I'm Shelley Gray. I live in Weare, and I also teach at Weare Middle School. And I also would like to advocate for revisiting the decision to hold the deliberative session next week. CDC recommendations are to avoid crowds. We are doing all that we can. We're filling out the health inquiry every day so that we can maintain our in-school learning with the students. And I think asking voters to go to the deliberative session now would exclude too many teachers who are trying their best to keep kids in school. And I too don't like being remote. And it's very hard. And I think teachers should have a voice. And I would very much appreciate the fact or the ability to go to the deliberative session if it were held perhaps in the spring. Thank you.
I muted myself, sorry. Matt Hammond is next.
Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of, I'm a taxpayer. I live at 195 Pine Hill Road. I'm also a teacher at the middle school, and I would like to echo my colleagues' comments. I would respectfully request the board reconsider pushing the deliberative session off until April or later. It unfortunately puts us in the unenviable position of having to decide, do we continue to restrict ourselves and be responsible to keep ourselves COVID free and not go to the deliberative session? Or do we come and argue for and defend our contract that, I might add, the board worked very hard with us on to come to an agreeable decision this year. So I respectfully ask that the board reconsider again, and thank you for considering it.
Excellent. I don't see anyone else. Do you, Jackie? No, she applauded. No? Okay, well, I guess I was wrong about the half hour. Great. All right, so the next.
Well,
next
Jackie,
Angela.
I was raising my hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Jen.
That's okay.
Sorry. No, I thought you were clapping your hands. In fact, Brian is in the next room. He's like, Angela's got her hand up. I'm like, I don't think so. But yeah, okay, Angela, go ahead.
No worries. So Angela Drake, 141 Duck Pond Road. And I sent a letter to the Weare School Board over the weekend, and I would like to read it publicly. Dear Weare School Board, I am writing to ask you, in light of recent events at Center Woods, to reconsider the decision to have deliberative sessions at their originally scheduled date. The recent spread to reconsider having them. The recent spread of COVID-19 within Center Woods is an example that a push to be in person with all the current precautions can still be problematic. A delay to the timeframe of John Stark and Henniker schools would allow for the highest risk group to have been vaccinated and to allow for more of a fresh air venue. An example of the small group of community-minded school board members at the last meeting, the group meeting, that disclosed that they were under medical guidance to not attend in person was 3 out of 13. That's over 20%. We currently have 9 teachers out of 50 at Center Woods in quarantine status. And the population of voting age people in Weare over 60 years old, those at increased risk in our community, is 31.7%. About 24.9% of the votes counted in the 2020 general election were absentee in Weare. That's compared to about 7.8 in 2016. That's a change of 377 absentee ballots from the same election in 2016 in Weare. For the September primary, it was 22%. There is a consistent 20 to 25% of the voters actively showing concern about the COVID pandemic in Weare. Keeping in mind, a minutes-long individual voting experience does not compare to an hour deliberative session. Some citizens choose not to participate due to concerns of exposure. There is an obvious concern of contracting COVID, but an exposure would require a 14-day quarantine. For many hourly, part-time, and self-employed people, this means no income. Women, especially mothers of young children, often hold these hourly jobs, causing parents to choose from advocating for their children and potential lost wages. Teachers have a similar decision to grapple with. A delay would support these constituents in their ability to participate in person at the deliberative session. All of the SAU 24 school boards, Town of Weare Board of Selectmen, all Town of Weare committees do not currently meet in person due to COVID concerns. The town administrative offices are virtual or by appointment only. The deliberative session should reflect the same level of precaution. I am a health and safety professional. Half of my career spent in healthcare facilities. I work daily to prevent this infectious virus from impacting the company and its employees. It consumes my days. It is not easy. It is a heavy burden. I understand the complexity of this decision, and I trust that you will do what is best for citizens, students, and teachers of Weare. Please keep in mind that Emergency Order 83 allows for budget spending to continue, and teacher contracts will not be negatively impacted. The risk of maintaining the deliberative session in February is much greater than that of delaying. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Angela. Jen was next.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Angela, for that. I'd like to just echo your words. I just also wanted to respectfully ask the board to reconsider and delay the deliberative session, just in fairness to the community and the taxpayers. I'm sorry, I forgot to state my address. It's 81 Meadow Drive in Weare. Just in fairness to the taxpayers in Weare, so we can all be as informed as we possibly can be, just to maintain our schools and hopefully help our teachers without the further risk of anyone getting sick. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Kristen?
I'm Kristen Lundeen, 13 Pitch Hill Road. I work at Weare Middle School, and I'm also the president of the Weare Educational Support Staff. I'm going to echo what my colleagues and the last two women who've spoken and respectfully ask you to push the deliberative session.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, I don't see more hands, although I said that last time. Am I missing anyone?
I don't
Nope.
believe so.
Okay, great. Thank you all. So the next section is the minutes dated. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to, can we accept them all together?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept all the minutes. of the
Okay, do we have a
previous
second?
I'll second, Heidi.
Okay, great. So do we have any amendments? We can do these one at a time or all together. Do we have any changes to the January 13th school board meeting minutes? No. How about the public hearing? The 22nd school board meeting? Or the 27th? Wow, this is easy. All right. So a vote to accept the minutes, right? So Heidi?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Rochelle?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
And Wendy, yes. All right, under communications, we have had a lot. So they'll all get added to the minutes. The ones I know of are Dawn Spring, P. Francis Kovich, Leah Cushman, Reverend Drake, Christine Nass, Chris Fredette, and Angela Drake.
There
So
were.
I don't know that I was copied on all of them, so
Okay, so I will.
If we could forward to either myself or Katie,
Mhm.
so they can be included in the minutes.
We'll do that.
And
Heidi,
there,
did you have?
yep, a couple that were directed just to me. They all spoke here tonight, but I can forward those as well.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Excellent. All right, so under people scheduled to appear, we have a spot for the PTO. I'm not sure if they're here tonight. Okay, then we have a SEL presentation.
Yes, so we are very excited to have some guests tonight. We have Chris Beatty from Weare Middle School in the Upper L, Paula Oliveira, hope I said that right. I know she's here. I think she's on the other page. There she is. And we have Linda Hanley, and Jess Potter is also going to be part of this presentation. So I'm going to ask them all to unmute so that when they're ready to talk, they can do that. And I'm also going to share my screen and be the driver while they talk. So I will turn it over to them.
Thank you, Natasha. Hi, so I'm Paula Oliveira. I'm one of the school counselors at Weare Middle School. I'll start us off We're going to talk about what we've done between Weare Middle School and Center Woods Elementary School to foster social emotional learning this year. Natasha, do you want to go to the first slide? So we wanted to just make sure everybody understands what SEL is. So it is the process through which we help students and adults get the skills and the knowledge to manage their emotions, to set goals, to feel empathy, to build positive relationships, and to make positive decisions. I'm not going to read everything on the slides or talk about everything on the slides. We kind of included a lot of information for you all that feel free to read at your own time. Do you want to go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So this just talks about the SEL competencies, and I think this is important to understand. So there are kind of 5 areas that we're really looking to support students in: self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, social awareness, and relationship skills. And in a Pantene year where school does not look like school necessarily, these become even bigger priorities for us. Do you want next slide? Oh. So we kind of sat and looked at why is this so important, especially this year. We're looking for our students to be able to manage in classrooms that are entirely unpredictable at some points. We had a group this week who we came back from break. We were in for a few days. We were remote for a few days. We were in for a few days. And then a particular classroom was quarantined for the last week and a half. They were back for 1 day, and then we had a snow day. And when they came in today, it was like starting from day 1. So this is why we're so focused on SEL, creating those pro-social behaviors, making sure we're building our strong relationships, building resilience with the kiddos, helping them to be able to make positive decisions. All of this obviously leads to better academic performance, because if you can relate to your teacher and you can make positive decisions, you're going to do well academically. Instills hope, helps manage stress, saves lives. I will talk a little bit more about the saves lives when we get to this section of this presentation that talks specifically about our Sweethearts and Heroes curriculum this year. Go ahead. I think Linda and Jess are going to address Center Woods.
Sure. So I'm Jess Potter, the principal of Center Woods. And this slide is mostly just to give you sort of a title page. And I'm going to do my best to briefly describe how social emotional learning is infused into our school through responsive classroom, through Choose Love, and through other class lessons, including small group counseling and individual counseling. And although our Learn at Home students are not physically in the building, all of the above applies to them as well. And so now we're moving, yep, great, so Choose Love. So the responsive, actually go back 1, sorry, Natasha, I might've gotten ahead of myself, thanks. So the responsive classroom is an approach to teaching and building communities that focuses on engaging academics, positive community, effective classroom management, and developmental awareness. It has been described by the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning as one of the most well-designed, evidence-based social emotional programs. You may be familiar with many of our routines and structures that we use for responsive classroom. Our morning meetings, our shares, greetings, all work on our interpersonal skills. We work on establishing rules through hopes and dreams. We do energizers and quiet times to fuel up our body and calm our body. And then our reflective closing circle wraps in all of the information that we've learned through the day. In addition, our school focuses on recognizing students for going above and beyond with our Eagle Eyes. And our monthly all school meetings, although they look very different this year because they're virtual, have been a place where we can instill a community message, recognize our Eagle Eye students, learn from each other, and sing our Eagle Eye and our school songs. Choose Love is an addition to our responsive classroom longstanding approaches. This year, we integrated a free social emotional curriculum called Choose Love. Choose Love is aligned with character and social emotional development standards that builds and cultivates a growth mindset, mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and more. But our Centerwood students would tell you, Choose Love is courage plus gratitude plus forgiveness plus compassion in action equals Choose Love. So what does this look like in our school setting? Well, in our earlier grades, in our younger grades, I should say, it's about identifying emotions, having an opportunity to listen and take turns and be heard, and learn strategies for self-regulation and to be able to regulate our emotions. Stories are read to students, and then questions are asked about how characters are feeling, what caused the character to feel a particular way, and what choices are the characters making, and what could outcomes look like based on those choices. Videos, stories, and discussions all enhance that discussion. As the children progress in Centerwoods, they will be working on their hopes and dreams, creating school rules, practicing and breathing exercises to regulate emotions, develop affirmations, and regulate thoughts which impact our emotions. Learn the CALM acronym, which is cooperative attitude, asking questions, listening, making a plan to move that involves cooperation. Things like a gratitude jar recognizes the many things that we're grateful for, and reading books to support and illustrate the big ideas of Choose Love is important. And all of the above is embedded in our unified arts classes, where we continue to have a growth mindset in art. Many students face that I'm not perfect at art, and our art teacher really uses the social emotional curriculum to help them realize that everything is a part of a development. In library, they make connections with characters and self-brainstorm in ways characters can handle things differently. In computers, they work on problem solving, sequential thinking, logic, and perseverance through difficult times. And in music, in all grade levels, they listen to different types of music and talk about how it makes them feel. And in PE, of course, the national standards actually identify teamwork, personal responsibility, and social behavior that respects their self and others as critical. And then not to forget our intervention teams that work on self-regulation, and they work on students one-on-one in many cases to be able to take information and be able to learn from it. All right, so our next slide is the individual and small group. There we go. So in addition to all of the above, our counselor works with small groups and individuals on specific skill sets, most of which dive deeper into what is already occurring in the classroom. And the Learn at Home, which is our next slide. As with all of our face-to-face students, this year has been a little bit of a challenge with just having one counselor. She has worked remarkably, given that she is a whole school counselor, and she's worked despite remote days and trying to mitigate cohort crossing concerns. The focus remains on integrating the social emotional approach in all of the classrooms while working with all of the students. And then before I pass the baton to my neighbors up the street, I just want to add that for every minute that we spend on our social emotional curriculum is at least an hour gained of instruction. I have no data on that. That's just me talking. When children are comfortable, they feel safe and they're ready to learn, their minds are sponges and they can apply their learning in more meaningful ways. Go on to the upper L and middle.
All right, so we wanted to share a little bit of what we've been doing this year. Prior to my joining the district, there was an SEL committee that looked at how are we going to address the unique needs of the kiddos this year for their social emotional learning. So we spent some time before school started and thought about what can we do to help them return, then looked at what are our sort of first part of the year initiatives, what do we need to address, what are our year-long initiatives. So some of the things we want to share is that we created a 10-day SEL reentry plan that included some lessons and information that were shared with every student in the upper L and middle school. Our staff created a welcome back video to acquaint the students with what the new normal in school would look like before they returned. We've done some one-off things such as our Weare Blue Day, which is tied to our Sweethearts and Heroes curriculum. Tom, who is one of the founders in Sweethearts and Heroes and is featured in most of the videos that the kiddos see, famously paints some of his fingernails blue because that is the color of anti-bullying. So we tied that in because it's also our school colors. We're looking at Spirit Week. We have celebration communication where staff can fill out a form to celebrate successes on behalf of students. That goes to both administration and parents. We also have Moose, who you'll meet in a minute, who is our therapy dog who spends time in our school twice a week and makes everyone happier when he's there. I'm not going to talk too much about Choose Love because Jess already kind of did an overview of that curriculum, but our fourth graders are also participating in the Choose Love curriculum, which aligns with what they're doing in the elementary school. We have Sweethearts and Heroes, which we'll talk a little bit more about, which is our SEL curriculum that we're sharing with our 5th through 8th graders. We do classroom lessons, some on a regular basis for some grades and more on an as-needed basis for other grades. Every grade has an advisory or a morning meeting time where the teachers do a lot of that SEL work with their students around what the classroom climate is like and team building and that kind of stuff. And then we have individual and small group counseling for the kids who need it on a more intensive basis. I'd like, Natasha, if we have the time, it's only about 30 seconds long, if we could share the welcome back video, because I think it's such a great example of how our faculty really buys into the idea of helping the students to feel happy and safe and comfortable at school.
All right, I'm hoping this sound will come through. So give me a thumbs up if it does.
You might have to, yep. Okay. You might have to hit share sound.
Please keep your hands to yourself and touch the least amount of things around you as not to spread any germs. Thank you for using hand sanitizer as you went to the classroom. Thank you for using hand sanitizer as you are seated at your desk. Please remain there unless asked to move in groupings. As we go to the locker, you will see a picture on your desk, and you will be in that group to use your lockers. Your own materials and do not trade those out as we go through the day, as they can be contaminated if you are sick, and we don't want to spread that around.
you're right. Let me come over. Let's see. Oh, I don't even have to touch a button. No. Thank you for helping me to remember, because these are new things I never used to have to do. And I forget too. Back here. What's your name, young lady? Yeah, you right there. Jan. Hi, Jan. And so you were sort of singing a song. What was that about? What was the question? Why do we have to wear a mask and stay physically distant and sanitize?
Because of Corona.
Oh,
Coronavirus.
Upstairs, if you ever need to come talk to me or you get confused or worried, I'm here to help because I want us to have a safe and wonderful start to our year. Thanks, guys. See you later.
So that's just one example of the many, many ways the staff have used their own time to try to make sure that this year feels comfortable for the kiddos. And that's at the basis of SEL. We want them to feel connected to us as the adults in their world, and we want them to feel safe when they're at school. You want to go to the next slide, please? So learn at home. This is an area that we're looking to kind of beef up right now. Currently, our Learn at Home teachers are using either the Choose Love or the Sweethearts and Heroes curriculum to work with their students. Counselors do pop into some of those advisories where those lessons are being taught. We also are doing individual and small group counseling with targeted students to address issues that are barriers to them fully participating in their Learn at Home. But it's definitely an area that we'd like to have more contact and be able to sort of extend the SEL that we're doing in school a little deeper. Sweethearts and Heroes is kind of at the heart of what we're doing this year. We started the year with our 10-day SEL plan, which was a lot of fun to work with, and it was sort of our internally written lessons for SEL this year based on the research we were doing. Sweethearts and Heroes this is the second year for Weare Middle School and Upper L to use this curriculum. It talks, the focus of Sweethearts and Heroes is that we are all have the ability to be sweethearts and heroes. We can fight hopelessness and bring hope. We can get rid of bullying. We can get rid of suicide. And the idea of being a sweetheart or a hero is to speak up when you're worried about a peer, when you see something wrong, and that you have the power to make a difference. I got to admit, when I first looked at this curriculum, I was like, oh boy, this is a bit much, because it is a fairly intense curriculum. It's based on videos and it's in a format, an app format called Flipgrid, where most of the lessons are presented through video format with then teacher facilitated discussion circles after the students watch the videos. And then the students have the ability to respond to their teacher and respond to their videos in the Flipgrid format in video. So it removes the necessity to write when they're processing their responses to the SEL lessons. And I've spent a lot of time watching the kiddos' video responses. It's a really powerful format for the kids. So I wanted to just share a snippet of one lesson. Each of the videos that the kids get. By the way, before I move further, we had Wear Blue Day last week, and Phil really did paint his beard blue and his nails blue for Wear Blue Day. So I had to share that. So Natasha, if we could play just about the first 40 seconds or so of the first video and then the two responses, it'll give folks a pretty good idea of what this curriculum is delivering to the kids.
reason we're doing this is to activate the young people that now understand what bullying is and the damage that it does. We don't go to schools for kids that get bullied. We don't go to schools for kids that are bullies. We go there for the rest of you. Because truly what we're talking about is not bullying, it's hopelessness. And if we're going to talk about hopelessness, our solution has to begin with this thing called hope. The thing that kids are lacking. For hold on, possibilities exist. HOPE. Hold on, possibilities exist. We have a generation of young people that feel more hopeless than ever before in human history. Since 2007, suicides in...
I think that's great. That gives you an idea of who the presenters are. And this was a fifth grader's response to that video. Oh shoot, you're not going to be able to log in, are you? I tested it, but it was on my computer, so. So maybe we can work on making that something you can see afterwards. Some of the things are the kids really process it in an amazing way, but also Tom, the man you just saw speaking, responds to almost every student video. And if the kids ask him a question, he answers it, which is amazing. And I wanted to share that this program has saved a student's life this year. We have this lesson that he started to talk about was on the difference between hope and hopelessness and what to do when you know someone is feeling hopeless. And one teacher did that lesson, and the next morning I got a phone call. I'm sending you a message and I need to talk to you now. And that message was that one of her students had forwarded her a chat from another one of her students who said, today is the day and I'm going to do it. And we intervened, we got parents involved, we got emergency services involved, and that was about a month ago, and I've been talking with that student several times a week since then, and she's really on a different track. So to me, sorry, I get choked up a little because that says everything about why we do this SEL work. We saved a kid's life this year. So you guys feel free to watch videos at your convenience. Chris and I will make sure that tomorrow the links are usable. I didn't think to have someone check on a different computer, sorry. Chris, do you want to talk about Moose?
Sure. So, last year when we started the whole, certification process for him as like mid-February, planning on doing it this year. I really didn't know what to expect, once I got him into school, but, I think it was just a perfect year to have, him be in the school. And, I knew that coming in there'd be the whole, he makes everybody happy and he's a big goofy guy and everybody's excited to see him. Just lifts everybody's spirits. Kids are, every day is Moose here today and just happy to see him. But the part that kind of stands out to me is it's the amount of kindness and the the empathy I've seen kids have for Moose. Just they collectively all kind of look out for him. One story that stands out was I was in the gym and there's a big curtain that goes down, and Moose and I are standing there, and Moose's tail was under the curtain. And so the kids on the other side made their teacher stand over him while they're playing their game so that nobody would, step on his tail. And it's just many stories like that where these kids just kind of all coming together. If you look, there's the picture of the student at the bottom who was, was afraid to read out loud. So his teacher, asked if he wanted to go read to Moose, and he came down, he was reading to Moose. A few minutes into it, Moose started getting a little antsy, and the student's like, Mr. Beatty, I think Moose might need a movement break. We should take him outside. And so it's just, them kind of having the chance to think about some others and just kind of really they really put him first. I feel a lot of times it's just refreshing to see, and it's kind of he's helped, kids wouldn't normally get along will come up and, hang out together with Moose. I think the only complaint I get is that, they're not allowed to pet him right now because we're trying to, practice social distancing. But other than that, I think he's making a difference.
Hey, Chris, for those who don't know how Moose is connected to our school, do you want to explain that?
Yeah, sorry, I thought they knew that. So Moose is actually my dog. Me and my wife have had him since he was a puppy. And actually last year, Sean and Allison Peterson ended up meeting Moose. I think Phil was there too. Sorry, Phil. And, they asked me if I wanted to, get him certified as a therapy dog. And so, we did it was like 7 weeks of training, and we started coming this year, and it's just been, that's been it since then. Anything else? Did I miss anything, Paula?
I don't know. So there's a link there that you can click on if you want to see some of Chris puts out videos for the kids with Moose doing skills, being supportive. We started off the year with meet and greets with a counseling team where we went around, and they turned into great SEL lessons where we talked about self-control and discipline. So much happens through this dog. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's a good one.
But just in the interest of time, we don't need, and the first link, Meet Moose, is a sheet that Chris developed to share with students and families the first week of school, to talk about that there was going to be a dog in the school, what he was there for, and what the rules would be around interacting with him. And the kids are amazing, so respectful.
Yeah, they're really good. Actually, funny thing, last week I had a kid come up and there is a lunch group and they're talking about Moose. And kids always get confused about he's a therapy dog, not a service dog. And one kid goes, no, he's a cheer up dog. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, he comes around and everybody cheers up. Like, all right.
So come visit us on a Tuesday or a Friday and you can meet him.
Thursday and Friday this week.
Okay. All right. Next slide. So obviously an integral part of our SEL plan in the school this year is our classroom lessons and our small groups. So classroom lessons where we try to address some of our SEL themes with whole classes, small groups for kiddos who might need a little more practice or reinforcement of some of the concepts. So a recent example of an SEL lesson in fourth grade classrooms, all the kids learned about their brain and about fight or flight. They learned about the structures of the brain, the prehistoric parts of the brain, fight or flight, and then some mindfulness techniques to overcome or take back when their brain takes off on them. We had a lot of fun with that. So small groups, I have some kiddos who come in and we read books together based on things they need to process. Chris and I both do, and actually Kendra Carney, who is part of our team as well, she's our social worker. We all do groups with kiddos all the time, but these are just some examples of things that are happening in our groups and in our classroom lessons. So at the beginning of the year, we identified that in a normal year, SEL for staff can be a pretty important issue, but this year, more than ever, SEL for staff is crucial because our staff are dealing with demands that they've never dealt with before. So some of the things we put in place this year, there's a Google form that goes out frequently to staff saying, hey, if someone in the staff has done something amazing, please fill out this form so we can celebrate them. So that's the top of that Google form, and we usually Phil or somebody sends it out at the prior to every staff meeting as sort of a reminder, hey, let's take a few minutes and do this at the beginning of staff meeting. The trees in the picture are one of the ways we're recognizing staff this year. Those trees are murals that are painted on our walls, and the folks at our SSC, our Student Support Center, take some of their non-existent free time to go through all these staff celebrations, to send the messages of celebration to team leaders to share with the particular staff members, but also everything you see on these trees is a staff member's name, recognizing something that they've done that's really positive. And some other things we're doing are just check-ins with staff, making sure that we're making it into all our classrooms. And our health and counseling team got together, and we are this year doing a healthy snack once a month for staff. Well, mostly healthy snack. We bring in fruit and chocolate. as a way to just say, hey, we recognize you're working hard. We want to do something for you. So those are just some of the small things we're doing in a way to create staff SEL in addition to our PD and all of those things that we always do. Go ahead, Natasha. So at the end of this, there are some slides with just pictures around our school of the different ways SEL are happening in school. Just different classroom teachers are taking it in different directions based on what they are seeing of the needs of their kids. There's our contact information there, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Excellent. Powerful presentation, Paula. Thank you.
Thanks,
Wendy. Does the board have any questions or comments?
No, but thank you so much for sharing. That's beautiful, beautifully done from both schools.
And thank you to all the staff for the hard work that they're putting in to make this happen. Thank you.
We like our schools.
I was just wondering if we could get that uploaded into our drive so we could check out those videos and links and stuff that we didn't have time.
Yes, I will definitely make sure everything's available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Natasha.
So yeah, I just want to wrap up by saying that, you know, we have new counselors, right? These folks, a couple of these folks are brand new to our district, and they have just done amazing work, hit the ground running, you know, become a high functioning team very, very quickly in the face of some pretty extreme demands this year. And I am super proud of the work that they're doing, as I know we all are. But I'm glad that we got the opportunity tonight to highlight the work that they're doing and introduce you to the new folks. And so we'll just keep the conversation going. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Natasha. We're pretty happy to be a team. And I think across schools in Weare. Linda is part of the middle school team and vice versa. And we feel pretty fortunate to have the admin we have behind us.
Definitely. And we'll actually be having our first, I know this is something that has happened in the past, but I'm also new. So we'll be having our first K-12 SAU-wide school counselors meeting next week to start talking about some vertical stuff as well, and allowing them to kind of congeal as a group and have each other across buildings to rely on and bounce ideas off. And so we're excited about that as well.
Thanks.
Thanks, Natasha. All right, our next topic is committee reports. Do we have one from curriculum?
Yep, we met on January 20th, and actually the entire meeting was talking about the John Stark Program of Studies, so I'm not going to really discuss here because that's outside of our board.
Right.
Our next meeting will be February 17th.
Thank you. All right, and the community relations, right now we're working on the mailer. More on that later. Policy, no policies tonight. You're welcome. Facilities.
We are going to go over everything basically later in the technology update.
Okay, great. Wellness.
Yeah, I believe I gave the overview of Center Woods Elementary last meeting, and we're meeting next week. I met with the middle school, and Paula mentioned a little bit about the Google Forms that the teachers have available to them in order to stay connected, because that's one of their big goals, is to stay connected when they're supposed to stay apart. Marcia is doing a Go Red Day for heart health, and is going to put together some safe snacks, individually wrapped snacks, and invite people to come in a few at a time to get those. Weare Red Day is on February 5th, so this Friday. We talked about the Blue Day. One thing I really liked, the gentleman who does the Sweethearts and Heroes, if you noticed in the video, his fingers were different colors, and his right finger is blue because it's the anti-bullying color, but he said this is his social media finger. And he looks at it every time and thinks to himself, you know, should I be posting this? And it's nice to see the adults talking like that with the kids. They're continuing with the Wellness for Staff celebrations, connecting with new staff. We continue talking about the 5K. They have some wonderful ideas, and possibly it's going to be in person. So it's still being talked about. and we'll see where we get from there. And their next meeting is the 19th.
Great. Thanks, Christine. How about transportation?
We've never had a meeting.
Okay. Nothing for negotiations, right? We have an active teacher's contract on the warrant. That's about it right now, and nothing on kindergarten. That brings us up to the administration reports. So principal reports, let's start with Sean.
As written and presented, I'm just excited that with everything going on, so much good stuff is still happening in our schools.
Do you have any questions? Nope. Okay. Jess?
I will follow suit as written and presented unless you have any questions.
I have a loaded question. So how's the stress level with the cluster?
The stress level has actually remained high. I can't imagine what it's like to be a principal in other buildings. I only know my own experience. And I feel as though that the more we try to stay open, the higher the stress is. And people are doing an absolutely amazing job, doing everything that they can, doing everything right. It's just, the odds are in our favor that something would happen when it did.
Okay. Does anybody else have questions for Jess? Nope. Okay. You're off the hook. Jackie.
To jump off of what Jess said, I would like to also say, Centerwoods did nothing wrong. Everyone is following the protocols we have in place, and we're trying to make this work. And so that end, if you haven't seen, yesterday, I issued a snow day challenge and had people upload their non-tech, hopefully outside activities. And I haven't counted, but there must be 200 families who posted pictures of them and their kids on doing outdoor activities or doing other non-tech activities. And so, that made my week. As reported.
Any questions for Jess? Jackie? No. I will admit that I didn't get the importance of snow days. I mean, we're home, right? We have computers. Why would you bother? But boy, it really was needed. And I think it was really great for our community, and people just needed that sort of day. So I loved seeing the pictures. I was glad to be wrong. Doesn't happen often. Okay, manifest, I think we've got that mailed around to us. Reconciliation report.
So the reconciliation report, in new business, we're going to do a pretty good overview on the budget and where we stand right now and things of that nature. But with regards to the reconciliation tonight, what I wanted to go over were two things. First of all, we have the capital improvement deposit that was related to the one-time funding that we got in adequacy. So I believe I've said this in this venue once, that that amount was decreased because we actually got less inadequacy. So the amount that you see on the expenditure side of the reconciliation is what we are in the process of cutting a check for right now. So you'll see it on your next manifest, and that'll go to the town and be deposited into the trust. But then on the bottom line, so this time last year, our bottom line was 3.7% of the budget remaining. And this year, the $287,088.88 is actually 4.5% of the budget. So we are trending at a higher percentage this year than we were last year, which is positive.
Good. Do we have questions for Chris? All right. I think the only person now was a non-public, so we can skip that. We can skip policy. So old business. I added an amendment for deliberative session. To start that discussion off, I would like to make a motion to delay the deliberative session until April in alignment with the John Stark Board. Can I get a second?
I'll second, Christine.
Okay. I wanted to do that before I started going on all my thoughts because that's the right thing to do. So a lot has changed. There's no right answers. These are the things that came to mind for me this week. Our COVID levels high, right? The COVID Act now has us in a red state. New Hampshire.gov says Hillsborough County is in substantial spread. Weare has 23 cases, and we have the cluster at Center Woods. The thing that really struck home to me this week was the teachers union. We have always had teachers who are taxpayers who are able to speak to their contract. This year, we've asked teachers to do the impossible. We really shouldn't be taking away their rights. Right now, we have a teacher shortage. We have 11 staff in isolation or quarantine as of today. We have a shortage of subs who we now can't mix in cohorts to avoid future clusters. We have asked our teachers to avoid travel, to avoid groups in order to keep our schools open as long as possible. The delay on the teachers' vaccine from the governor means few will be vaccinated this month. So we are forcing our teachers to choose to either advocate for their contract or to keep our schools safe. Financially, there's a fiscal cost to us not being delayed. So we typically do a mailer and we split the cost with Henniker and John Stark. Because we are on a separate date, we have to have a separate mailer. So last year it was $2,141.90 for the three of us, split three ways. This year it's looking like our cost is going to be $1,422.68. So that's a district cost add of $709, according to the administration. Because we pay for 2/3 of the John Stark mailer, and that's going to be separate from the Weare mailer, we're going to have a cost to Weare taxpayers of $3,500 versus $1,400. In addition, because the deliberative session has been delayed till the 17th, if we stick with that date, we are going to have an expedited cost to get our ballots ready in time for the ballot in March. And now that we're doing an indoor session in our schools, we have additional cleanup costs where if we delay into April and have it outdoors, we don't have as much of a decontamination cost. In addition, John Stark has talked about sharing an outdoor tent with us in April. And so the facility cost to set up would be reduced by splitting it with John Stark. Finally, there's an uncertainty risk with when the deliberative session is. There's a lot of uncertainty around it. Right now, the plan is to delay every 72 hours until February 17th. There has been some community concern about that plan. And this is just to be clear, we have nothing to do with this. This is not our responsibility. We're just reacting to it. But if that pushback and there's a court finding on that, and they decide that we can't continue to do those repeated 72 hours, we could be forced to do the deliberative session Friday, right? And so the administration needs time to schedule the facilities, the cleaning, and get the paper in place. And so if we delay, we have more time to plan and we can reduce the cost and coordinate with the town because we need town members there. So with that, I open it up to the rest of the board.
I'd like to comment about also delaying. And I think fiscally, it makes sense. I think it makes sense to be in line with John Stark. I think it makes sense for safety. And also based upon the emails I received all but one that was asking from the community that was asking us to delay. And we are representatives of the community. So the people that we heard from, the majority have asked to delay.
I've definitely heard from more people not wanting to delay. Just throwing that out there. But also, I believe, Eileen was elected as the town moderator because the majority of people trust her to make the right choices. And so I personally believe going along with her in the town is the right thing to do. And we put our kids in school every day. So why can't we go to a meeting for, a couple hours?
I want to take a minute and respond to some of the things that have been said. I definitely appreciate everybody who's taken the time to reach out personally or to the board and do so respectfully. I hear you. I hear your concerns. This is a really hard decision for all of us, just like it was this summer when we were trying to plan for the reopening of the schools. In both cases, I tried to remain objective, take my personal opinions out of this, and use the CDC guidelines as a framework. The plan that we have in place for the deliberative follows the CDC guidelines using 6 feet of social distancing and masks. A 2-month delay is not going to change that. I hear the concerns from the teachers about having to choose whether or not to attend, but in 2 months, they're still going to have to choose whether or not to attend. COVID is not going away. We will still be a large gathering, and we will still have 6 feet social distancing and mask mandates. The rate of vaccination is really slow. So while there will be more people vaccinated, it's going, I think, slower than expected. And so there is still going to be a portion of our population that doesn't feel comfortable. I wish this wasn't the case. I wish, we weren't living in a pandemic right now, and I wish it was safe for everybody to attend. But whether it's in February or in April, the risks are going to be there. When we initially talked about this last time, we were supposed to be outdoor or in the town garage with open doors. It's now being posted as in the Weare Middle School. I'm a little disappointed that the town and the school aren't able to work together to come to a solution that maybe makes it a little more open air, but we do have the ability to spread out, use multiple rooms if necessary, and open doors and windows as we can. I've done a lot of thinking and research in the past week or two since we last met and discussed. If you look at other towns, most towns and schools are maintaining their deliberative sessions as scheduled in February. With this, the moderators do have the authority to make additional rules beyond what the state mandate is. And so some towns are requiring a mask mandate for the deliberative session. The moderator has the authority to do that. Other towns are creating a separate room or space for non-mask participants, as I know that is a concern for many of the people. And so I would encourage our moderator to do the same and look to see what other town moderators or school board moderators have done. If we do delay while the towns around us maintain theirs, we risk losing some of our wonderful teachers because they're concerned about not having their own contracts, because our contracts will be delayed because of a delay in a vote. So again, trying to be objective, I look at the safety precautions set forth by the CDC and the plan that we have in place, and any possible additions to the rules set forth by the moderator, and say that, is that 2 weeks or 2 months going to change the situation? And I think that we're doing the best that we can, given the circumstances, to allow this process to move forward.
Thank you, Heidi. Any more comments?
Yeah, I just wanted, I mean, Heidi had most of my points. She said it very well. I really want to support the teachers. That did get me at the beginning of the meeting. I didn't receive communications from them previously. What I received, I had 4, I believe it was split. 2 wanted to postpone and 2 were saying it was good not to postpone. I want to let everybody, I sincerely think that we can do this safely based on the past meetings. And I've gone to most of them for 30 years. I don't think, as Heidi said, if you wait a couple of months, it's not going to change or shift too much enough to make it worth it. I think fiscally, you made good points about mailers. And so all of that would be a wash. I just really think it can be done safely now. And I think there's a risk to going after months after the town when the fiscal effects of the vote on the town articles are all in as well. But I do want to assure teachers that we will, if we have a deliberative as scheduled, we will certainly be advocating for them and their contract, even if they're not there. We will be their advocate.
Okay, any other comments?
I'd like to just make 2 comments. One, yes, we've been sending our kids to school, but yes, kids also have mask mandates and they're also 6 feet apart. Second thing is the CDC talks about layers of safety. A mask is a layer, 6 feet is a layer, and also open air is a layer. So being able to wait until April can add that 3rd layer. So no, COVID is not going away, but the spring weather would allow for it to be safer than it would be now. I'm also concerned because we did talk about, while heat-wise, it was not the most pleasurable idea of the town barn, being able to have more airflow would, and now we're talking about being in separate rooms, which I would presume not all of them would be able to be the size of the gym. So those are the 2 comments that I have about adding that spring air is adding more airflow. And also we're not talking the same thing about kids being in school because there's different rules and different ways of following them.
Can I just ask when that changed? At our last meeting, the town was saying that they wanted to work with us and to allow us the town garage. So why is it now being advertised as being in the schools? Why was that taken off the table? Or has it been taken off the table?
Jackie, is that a you question?
I think it's a Luke question, but I don't believe it's been totally taken off the table. We needed to post. When we were discussing kind of a back-to-back deal because they're cleaning out the town garage to make it happen, and they were willing to support us in that. And so we'd have to do some I think coordination to make that happen, but ultimately I think that's Luke's call.
Hi everyone. So this is Luke. Just to I am the school board moderator. So just so you know, the concern I have with the proposal of the town is there's no ability, or their intention is to have the folks who choose to not wear masks be in the same space as the folks who choose to wear masks. And from my perspective, that's not acceptable. So that's why we were looking at the alternative of doing it at the school. Although ideally, the outdoor and the circulation of air is obviously an issue. We're trying to make the best out of a bad situation here. From my perspective as the moderator, however, I feel very strongly that those who choose or have medical or religious exemptions from wearing masks need to be separated from the rest of the folks who are choosing to wear masks. And the current arrangement for the town does not allow for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Do we have any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. We have a roll call vote. The motion on the table is to delay till April. Christine,
Yes.
Michelle,
No.
Heidi,
No.
Sue,
No.
and me for the record, yes. So the motion does not carry. All right. So next is new business. We have review the 2020-2021 budget with spending and grants.
We've been talking over the last couple months about all of these grants that are coming and how we're trying to manage them. And one of the grants ended at the end of December. And so Chris and I have been meeting, and then we also learned we have more funds. And so what we wanted to share with you today is a working document. This is not, ready for prime time, so to say, but we do want to show you the structure we're working within, what we attributed the grant money for the supplemental grant, what we're anticipating using the CARES funding for, and then the CARES 2, Chris has articulated needs and then the funds that we see available. So Chris, do you want to share your screen?
Yes, please. Could you make me co-host?
I think I did.
Oh,
No.
yep. I see it
Nope.
now. Sorry. I was expecting a notification. All right. So as Jackie said, I have 4 different sections here that will kind of give some information on what we're working on with the budget. So the first section there is what we allocated the supplemental public school response fund money towards. So these are the different subjects that we ended up spending this money on. So PPE, so that's masks, that's hand sanitizer, that's plexiglass shields, anything along those lines. The technology, that was a good amount of Chromebooks, I believe 100 Chromebooks, to continue to have the one-to-one model that COVID seems to require. And then also in there was purchases of updated technology for classrooms. Like they're essentially a newer version of a Promethean board. I'm blanking on the name of it, but it was a recommendation from the school to utilize those flat panels. That's the word I was looking for, to increase the viability of Zoom in the room. So that was in that cost there. And then going down to cleaning. So that is cleaning is the only place that I ended up expending funds from the previous school year. And you'll actually see later on when we look at the final column that $7,000 is now a revenue that will be at the top of the budget versus revenue once this has all been played out. And then, so in that cleaning is wipes and materials for the electrostatic machines that were purchased at the end of last year. Personnel, so the personnel is all based off of additional work from staff members this past summer to achieve our opening plan. So that is what that is there. So it was IT as well as leadership. The remote learning supplies, we allowed the teachers to purchase supplies to better to increase the product of remote learning for our children. Where am I? Learning kits, that was at the beginning of the year to provide students with individualized supplies. The supplies, that's some miscellaneous supplies, things, one of the bigger costs in there were, power strips for Chromebooks, things of that nature. Additional transportation, that was the cost of having to have additional transportation due to the sharing of John Stark and Weare, and needing to kind of split those for the year. Food service, that was an additional cost of food delivery from June, actually paid in this school year, so that's not over in the 1920 column. Then a little bit of signage. Legal, that's actually just us posting the public hearing to accept these funding sources. And then facilities, that was, we did some water coolers in Weare Middle School because they had a lot of areas that did not have sinks and their water fountains were closed down. So we put the water bottle fillers in, I believe 4, to make it so that they had access. The second column is our CARES allocation. So I know you all have seen this number before, but $91,000 came in on CARES. Because we're kind of we've just cleaned up supplemental public school response fund. I wouldn't say we've received any of that funding from the state yet, but the funding sources that you see, the budgeted amounts that you see, are things that are, a lot of them are already happening. So the PPE is kind of a budget for the rest of the year. The technology is additional Chromebooks. The cost of distancing, that's storage for the year. So I put that over in CARES because it's a year cost, and the supplemental public response fund only had 6 months worth of time on there. Cleaning is another $1,000. That's again budgeted for the rest of the year. Our costs are going down because we made sure that we had enough supplies to start the school year, and we're starting to learn our habits with that cost. HVAC is for the additional cost of MERV 13s. That was the solution that we went with at the beginning of the year for our air quality in our schools, and it seems to be working out pretty well. Personnel in this case is the additional cost of having so a full FTE of a nurse's assistant at Centerwoods and a half FTE of a nurse's assistant at Weare Middle, because they already had a half FTE. And then if you go down again, legal at 2,000 is just a budget for the rest of the year as we navigate these different circumstances. And then the cost items and recommendations. So these are things that we have our mind towards as we finish out the year. These are things that we at one point had in our budget, but we were looking to find the correct way to get those supplies to our buildings. So the response to COVID, that we have about $150,000 worth of items within. Technology, we took out $125,000 out of the budget, or $150,000 out of the budget, but the 23,000 in CARES, that makes that decreased to $125,000. There's impacts of COVID that add up to $165,000. Facilities items that add up to $100,000, and then legal and regulations we have at $10,000.
Can I chime in for a second, Chris?
Yep.
Like teasing out what, I think the previous discussion, we're not quite sure how long we're going to be needing to respond to COVID. And so within that category, we were trying to think, continued cost of PPE through 21, 22. We have pickup patrol, which helps us with our screening. Nurse assistant, we have a nurse assistant at Center Woods. Long-term substitutes, playground equipment. We've had conversations about stations and helping to support the social distancing. And then there's the impact of COVID and the impact of remote learning. And so we are anticipating, more remediation, tutoring, summer programming, and again, thinking towards all of 2021, 2022, those funds are available. And Chris, are the new ESSER 2, the $320,000, I don't think that's in your last column.
So that the last column there is really what I was looking to explain there is kind of our what we're maybe anticipating as our net revenue on the general fund side. But we also have the ESSER allocation that will be on the federal fund side. Let me pull that number up. I want to say it was 356.
And your screen sharing, Chris.
Ooh.
So the technology number you'll recognize is the money we actually took out of the budget when we went through the whole budget process through October into November. And at our budget workshop, we took $125,000 out of, and so that is, I think it's the exact number from there.
Sorry for the delay. I forgot that I didn't get sent the allocations. Jackie did. So now I have to look for Jackie's email.
It's about $320,000.
320. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, about $320,000 on that. So, all right. So thank you on the cost items. And then, like I said, this last column. So during our discussion about the reconciliation, we went over the general fund bottom line. What you're seeing here is kind of what we anticipate based on the items that we know right now will be the bottom line on the revenue at the end of the year. So for instance, we have the health trust surplus that we received back from, the percentage that the employees of the district paid in, that will go back to them, but we're anticipating approximately $72,000 that will go back to the district, and so then that would go back to the taxpayers. The $100,000 that the board approved with the emergency order earlier in the year, that we don't anticipate accessing. Learn at home. So Henniker is participating in our Learn at Home program. They don't have any staff being contributed to the program, so the way they need to contribute is through funding. So through our calculation, we believe that should be approximately $90,000 at the end of the year that will come over as revenue for Weare. And then the SPSRF funding from the first column from 1920, again, that's revenue that's not backed by expenses in this current year. And then the four items that we anticipate missing the mark this year on revenue would be tuition, food service profit, Medicaid, and interest, and those are all due to COVID in one way or another.
So we anticipate using this document, and Chris and I are meeting with each of the principals throughout the SAU, talking about where we are with current spending, what can be released, what the needs are currently, and where that should go, and updating this and bringing it back as we plan for next year. I do think that what I know right now about the rules, I think we could, somebody on the board could recommend or make a motion to take the tech coordinator out, and we'd use grant funds for it for next year. The need doesn't go away. I would be advocating for it next year at this time, or the year after that. But I think we could defend it as a COVID cost, and it would take it out of the budget this year.
Okay, do we have any questions for Chris and Jackie?
Can you stop share, Chris?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I'm thinking, why don't we take it out of the budget this year if we can get it under COVID costs? So can I make a motion to take it out of the budget?
So that has to happen at deliberative sessions.
Okay.
You accept it as a budget after public hearing is what goes to deliberative session, but then you can make a motion there.
Okay.
But it might be a motion, the board wants to agree on making, would be my thought. Because you're presenting it. And so if you're immediately amending, which is fine, but it might be something you want to have a discussion about.
So does anybody else think that's a good idea?
I'm curious about, is there a downfall for doing it that way, Jackie? Is there a negative? For taking, the CARES, do it this year and then just putting it in the budget next year?
If we can put it in the budget, next year, no, I don't think there's a downfall.
Okay.
So what's everyone's reasoning to not want to do it?
And I apologize, I kind of threw this, out of the blue. I should.
So just a point of order, if you want to have a discussion on something, you should make a motion, get a second, and then we can have a discussion.
I don't care.
Yeah, I thought Jackie said not to make a motion tonight, but if one is required, I would move that we remove the new tech position from this year's budget.
I second that.
And reduce by, is it 91,000?
No, 25,000.
Oh, you're talking about, doing the extra hours. I thought you were talking about the new position. That's SAU.
No.
Sorry. Darn. I still would make the motion that we do that and cover it with COVID funds. The extra hours are needed because of the tech required for COVID.
I still second it.
Okay, so discussion. I thought I had heard, and maybe we can get this from the tech people, that although we have some cost associated with COVID, we already were having them work over the summer, right?
Yep,
it's not a one-time thing.
No, and that's what I said. It's not a one-time thing, but, and I would not have made this recommendation last month. I didn't, because I've learned more about how we can use the funds, the ESSER 2 funds, we're calling them. And I am pretty confident it'll fall within there.
Okay. But then they still wouldn't be full-time employees, right? So then you would just move that discussion to next year.
Correct.
Okay. So I don't know. I'm beyond my scope. So, oh, can we reduce the budget now? We've already voted on it, or does it has to wait till deliberative session?
So I was unclear. What I think you should make a motion about is that as a board, you agree or disagree to make a motion at deliberative session. And I would plan to have somebody do that because you're going to be presenting a budget. And I think presenting that amendment as part of the budget presentation would be the right way to do that. If you're on board for that.
So part of that position was to make it a full-time so that that person receives benefits, and then that sort of levels the playing field with other districts. So by not doing that, we take that away again, or keep it the way that it currently is.
We would pay the per diem for the work that we need done. So we wouldn't change the position to a 260 position, a 260 day. We would keep it at the, I can't remember, 220, but do a supplemental contract, which is what we have been doing for the work that we need.
So the hourly cost for this year would be covered. They would not have benefits or vacation time, and they would not be employees, right?
Well, they have the same benefits. The benefits.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
So
So
it
it's just
really is a
vacation.
pay issue, and it's the contract.
Okay. Sue, did you want to amend your motion to whether or not we want to support making a motion?
Sure. I make a motion that we support a motion at the deliberative session, reducing the budget by $25,000, which represents the funding for full-time tech.
Okay. Okay, great. Do we have any more discussion? No? Okay, Sue, how do you vote?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Eddie?
Yes.
Wendy, I am going to abstain because I won't be there. So it passes. Do we have any more talk about the budget spending grants presentation as seen? Okay, technology update.
Greg?
Actually, Chris
okay.
is going to be covering this because he's been spending the time with Chris Roy was going to be spending the time with Chris Auger and with Ken going through this. So he's got all the details on this. There should have been a document that was produced.
Yep, we got
you guys have that detailed what the current status was of the technology out there and showing end of life for the equipment to give you an idea of what we were looking at for having to take in replace stuff. I think you'll notice there was a bunch of pretty good sized bumps for expenditures, and that's because we bought stuff in big batches. If you have questions about particular details on that inventory, both Chris and Ken are here tonight and dig into as much detail as you would like regarding that.
Greg, can you bring that up on the screen? The inventory?
I can bring it up. I have it pretty accessible. So I guess what we'll do here is the current page that you're looking at is the Center Woods Elementary School. And so again, the board has this report. And so we can entertain any questions from the board. Ken and Chris are both here on the call tonight, and we can answer any of the questions that you may have on the report.
Great. Do I have questions for Chris?
I have a question about under laptops. The first one says the end of life was December 2018. But I thought when I had asked before, like why we even cared about end of life, they said it was because after that it didn't work anymore, or it like wasn't supported for most things that they use it for, so they don't use them.
I think that was in reference to Chromebooks particularly, but yeah, that's a tech question.
The UTC retail ones that you're seeing there are the point of sales in the cafeteria for food service. They're actually the combination cash register / point of sale screen.
Okay, so those don't really need replaced until they don't work anymore?
Actually, no. The reason we take and replace them is parts and support from the vendor. Once they passed end of life, it gets difficult to get support on them.
But we've been fine for the past 3 years?
The reason we've been okay for the last year, at least, is there's been not a lot of people in the school for a good chunk of it. But the other thing is the fact that they're reaching end of life and that they're running doesn't mean that we want to keep going with them. We do need to, at some point, replace them because, like I said, parts and support. The vendor will, at some point, take and say to us, no, they're not providing any more support for that. Also, as operating systems and security patches and other things occur, we'll be put into the position where we'll be exposing ourselves to potential issues.
Can I jump in, Greg? I just want to clarify, this is an inventory, and this computer had an end of life of 12/2018. We're documenting that. We're sharing with you the state of our equipment, and we can anticipate any, reasonably, it is wise of us to anticipate that we won't be able to use that for the long term. And so that's what this document illustrates. We're not defending anything. We're not advocating for it. We're saying this is our inventory and what we see as needs.
Any other questions?
Can I get some clarification on the iPads, which they were not a part of the survey that went out in October, but it's showing Center Woods has 76. And I'd have to find it here, but I'm just wondering, what are the iPads used for as opposed to Google Chromebooks? And at the time of the survey, Center Woods was showing 45 that were stored in classrooms, and I assume those are carts. If we're one-to-one, carts wouldn't be necessary. We don't want 45 computers just aging in a classroom. So I'm wondering if that is factored into the end of life.
Hi, this is Ken, Technology Coordinator for Center Woods. At this point, the iPads are used primarily in the kindergarten rooms, and a lot of the interventionists use them for one-to-one activities with the kids. At this point, I'm not looking to replace any iPads at all. I would prefer to see them replaced with touchscreen Chromebooks.
And if I could just add to that, just to give a little bit more, the kindergartners do not know how to use a mouse. And when they're trying to use programs that are familiar to them, the mouse actually gets in the way. So being able to touch and be able to move through programs actually is better for them. So whether it's the iPad or, as Ken said, a more cost-effective approach was the touchscreen Chromebooks, that is why we're looking for that.
And does the middle school have iPads? I still haven't found that part. And are they used in the same way as an intervention?
Hi, this is Chris Auger. We have one cart that's used by our health teacher that she uses iPads just for that class. We do have some that special ed uses, but there's probably 2 or 3. So there's really only one class and they're all in a cart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Okay, next topic is a donation of instrument repair.
And that is just an FYI, but I think Sean could probably speak to that.
Yes, we were just lucky enough to get a local instrument shop that did offer to us a gift certificate for $250 towards any instrument repair. So we're excited because we are putting instruments in hands of students outside of our buildings. So we were a little concerned, through no fault of their own, but with traveling with instruments, that we might incur some more damage. So that's what that's about.
Great, that's awesome. All right, we are at the period in the nay for a second public comment. Raise your hand if you would like to speak. I'm not seeing anyone. Jackie, are you seeing anyone? No,
I'm not.
Okay. All right. School board reports proposals for future agendas. We have all the kindergarten, the copier analysis costs, the transportation study. Is there anything else people would like to add? All right, so we are going to go into non-public session. Then we'll come back and adjourn, basically. Just so you know, the next meeting, besides the deliberative session, which is probably the 17th, the next meeting is March 22nd, and it'll be Zoom. So to go into non-public for RSA 91-A:3, sub 2, sub C, we need an individual voice call vote to go into non-public. So Sue?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Rochelle?
Yes, but I have a question. The meeting says March 23rd. Is it the 22nd?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too, because the 22nd is Monday. We usually meet on Tuesdays.
I will send clarification because that meeting, I believe it is the Tuesday, but that meeting is off schedule because it has to be, although, let me get back to you about that.
Okay. Great.
But
okay.
yes.
Yes, Rochelle. Okay, Christine?
Yes.
Wendy, yes. Did I miss anybody?
Okay.
I will make a motion to accept the leave of absence.
I'll second Heidi.
Okay, so voice call vote to accept the leave of absence. Rochelle? Yes. Heidi? Sue?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Wendy? Yes. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Can I just ask a question before we make the motion to adjourn? If emails are referred to in the meeting that not everybody has, do they need to be added to the notes?
If you could send any meeting, any thing that was communication, we'll put it in the minutes.
Okay, thank you. So maybe it doesn't sound
Katie?
like all of us got the emails that other people did. And I just would like to make sure we're being representative of people are sending. Thank you.
Oh, I have one last, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if you receive a communication, should it be sent to all board members at the time it's received, or should it wait a month for the meeting and then be done after the fact?
I'll have to ask about that, because if it's sent to one person, that is
They have the right to do that, yeah.
right, and I don't know how that works, but
I'm just thinking for terms of discussion, it would be nice if we all.
It would be.
I had like 4.
Yeah.
It was.
I had them that we're all sent to all of us. But
the ones I got were
Right,
sent to
yeah, it
everyone.
looked like everybody got them.
it sounds like there were other ones that were referred to during the meeting.
I could tell you I get a couple dozen every month. So most of them are directed just at me. Certainly, if we're going to talk about them, I can get them. And that's why I brought them up for communication. I want to get them added to the minutes, but yeah, I can do that. I did want to make one last comment before we go for the day, because I won't be at the deliberative session. I have Heidi's been an incredible addition to our board for a long time. She's been a great vice chair, and I will miss her terribly. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now motion to adjourn.
Heidi, do you want to make your last motion for it?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so voice call vote to adjourn. Christine?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Okay, and Wendy, yes. All right, y'all have fun at the session. Let me know how it goes.